Yes? Okay. So again, 3 minutes. Okay. So again, there is here the state of the ideal woman is also fetishized here, isn't it? Yes? Okay. An older woman is not ideal. An older woman here is sick. Yeah? Okay. So the fetish, fetish enters everything we do, and that is Bruno Latour. And Bruno Latour suggests, therefore, and as I haven't got much time to talk about it, I only have three more minutes. But basically, Bruno Latour, what he says, fetishes actually enter everything. The distinction between fact on the one hand and fetish is a kind of like trying to separate fact from fetish is a kind of task that will never totally succeed. As we saw before, all the we could on the one hand criticize all these papers who introduce certain things into their research that we say pollutes their research. For instance, I said the studies of all these herbal simples that are for some reason being attached to the Chinese medical tradition, even though there is no empirical evidence for their use in the Chinese medical tradition for this particular reason. Yeah? So we could say that is a kind of like fetishization or a pollution. But without having time to go into detail, it's probably impossible to get these kind of human desires and polluting effects out of what we do, because even in the talk we heard before, I believe, this is my belief, that at the bottom of it all there is a kind of reductionist ontology. Yes? Okay. So as you said before, ontology enters. We cannot think without a certain ontology. So but the ontology is a certain belief, so it's a certain fetish. So Bruno says, which I think is very useful, rather than thinking or differentiating between fetishes and facts and trying to get the fetish out of the fact, we should accept that our human world is always polluted. It always conjoins our desires. It conjoins culture to the way the world also is on a material biological level, as, for instance, also expressed in Margaret Lock's idea of local biologies. Yes, and that makes an important difference. Because why does it make an important difference? Because then we can negotiate about what kind of attachment we want between these kind of things, and we can look at the different consequences, intended and unintended, that arise from various possibilities to link these different things together. And that, I think, then opens up a possibility for dialogue that otherwise is not there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody got any questions, observations, comments, remarks? Mike.
Thank you, Michael. Very interesting, and I certainly agree with you on the point that we are using traditional medical systems, translating this into of modern science without necessarily understanding. But I think the problem I have is at the very end, this is this issue of factish. I guess the real question here for me is, how distant is this from a postmodern approach, where you simply say, we are all creating it, and if we go down this route, and that's the big danger I see, how does this help us in really understanding medical systems, in understanding what is the term potent substances for this symposium? Because then we are suddenly losing this link to really understanding what the medical benefits and risks are.
No, because the medical benefits and risk, yeah, okay, to me, anything you do has a risk attached to it and might have a benefit attached to it, isn't it? Yes? Okay.
Yeah, no, but this is the context of the idea of Bruno Latour's idea,
yeah,
of from fetish to factish.
No, but he would say, what he would say is that you must, whatever you look at, you must look at the whole picture. You must look at everything. So you must look at the plants, and you must look at society, you must look at culture, you must look at, you cannot take, for instance, the pharmaceutical industry out of the picture of looking at how the healthcare system is constructed and why you might want to do certain things rather than others. And you might say, okay, this is the price we are prepared to pay. Does it make sense? There's certain, look at the, yeah, that's what I would say. That it helps us to look at things on in a larger scale, and then make certain assumptions about what we are prepared to do. Like you also said before, one of the discussions that you had before was about where do we want to invest our money and why. Because our resources are always limited. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. So I think limited resources is one of the, we know that our resources are limited in time, etc., etc. Then we can, then at least I think it allows for a space where we can start to have these kind of discussions without a priori discounting certain kind of positions. That's all does it make sense? That's all I'm interested in. Because otherwise I see, otherwise it's all about I believe this and I believe this and this is what you should do and this is what you shouldn't do. Yeah. Okay.
That's the risk I was addressing. And if you say, that these are fabricated, made, and invented.
So if I can say, for instance, yes.
Yeah.
So let me give an example. Usually what happens is, you have on the one hand Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine will say, well, we have this 2000 by now, yes, okay, because I know I've given a talk about this menopause in China. I've given it in many different contexts, and one of the reactions that can occur is that people from China, kind of like the Chinese medical establishment, let's call it like that. They will say, this is not what you are saying here, that this is a kind of like an invention or a translation of a biomedical concept into Chinese medicine. Yes, this is not true. You are not understanding Chinese medicine. Yes, okay. So, but what I'm saying is that by introducing these kind of perspectives into the process, I'm creating a way of looking at how, for instance, because in the Chinese medical understanding of contemporary understanding of menopause, how various things have come together there. I'm not saying that treatment is not effective. All I'm saying is how did it come to be what it is? And I say there's another. Can you follow me? Yeah. Okay. I say how does it come to be as it is? And then I can, then we have, in my opinion, more information available. We have a different perspective. And thinking about something that might have been invented in 1964 sounds already very different and allows a space for critique that you do not have anymore when you say it comes out of the mist of time 2,000 years ago. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a reasonable point, but it's quite a long discussion. Yeah. The extent to which the notion of fetish is useful in understanding this discourse, and I think
it's of course a risky concept.
View, from my point of view, it is quite useful, and actually an analysis of the way in which this fetishization takes place within the discourse, dialogue, and communications around the development of medicine more generally was something that the sociologists used to sort of work on in the old days.